Good morning, everyone. Mary Gwak with Lawyer's Title. I'm super excited that you guys are joining today. I can tell you that some of these meetings that you guys attend where you're trying to learn and enhance your business, it's such a great investment. And as I've said at the prior meeting, I think one of the big shifts in our marketplace is really becoming a real estate consultant for your clients, for your sphere of influence, and for the prospects that you're meeting, right? The reality is there's so much technology all around us. Your clients really don't need you to give them a market summary. They need something beyond that. And what they need is advice on how they can make a move, how they can acquire more real estate. And one of the big things in California is the protection of Proposition 13. For those of you that have been in the business for a while, you all know that this passed many decades ago. And it's actually one of the best propositions that the state has when you look at other states. So California is awarded Proposition 13, which means that we're protected, where regardless of what the market does, your property taxes cannot go up more than 2% a year. So having said that, when you're dealing with people, and I'll just name off some neighborhoods here locally in Irvine. You look at places like there's a community called the Ranch in Irvine, one of the first developments. There's a community called Turtle Rock. You have some people that have been original owners or 30 plus year owners. They're living in $2 million homes, and their assessed value on their property tax bill, let's call it $400,000. So that means annually, we'll just keep it simple. That means at 1%, their property tax is $4,000. Right next door, model match, a young family moves in, bought the property at $2 million. Their property taxes is $20,000. So what that does is it creates this idea where people are like, you know what? I just can't move. I can't move. I can't afford to get an increased property tax bill, even if I have to downsize. So I'll draw a quick little scenario for you. And this is actually I use a lot of real life scenarios because I think it sticks in your mind better. One of my clients had an open house and it was in Northwood. I got a call on Saturday afternoon. She had a neighbor walk in, and the neighbor was an original owner. So this is not Northwood Point, for those of you that know Northwood. This is the original Northwood. Essentially, she was paying taxes as if her property was $275,000. The property could be listed at 1.8. They had a conversation. She was looking to move to the Bay Area to be closer to her kids and her grandkids. She found and identified a project that she really liked, new home, much smaller, single level, senior condos. But she knew that she couldn't afford property taxes at $12,000 if she were to move. So she had no idea what she was talking about. She knew bits and pieces. She's like, isn't there something in California that lets me take this? That's kind of the general consensus that I see. A lot of us make these assumptions that your homeowners know the ins and outs of all of this. But the reality is they don't, and they get everything mixed up. So that's where we talk about Proposition 19. Proposition 13 protects you where your taxes will not go up. And then Proposition 19, which came into effect about 4 years ago. For us old timers, you may remember Prop 60 and 90. Those are gone now. 60 and 90 have been replaced with Proposition 19, and it is supercharged. It is amazing. It's got some perks and it's got downsides. I'm not going to spend too much time on the downsides, but the perks are really amazing for you guys to go out there and work with your clients. One of the things that I'm seeing quite a bit is not only does it generate potential listings, if you're having these meaningful conversations with your clients, it should actually generate for you not just referrals, but a purchase, right? You work with them early enough and you can actually assist them in buying a property and selling a property. So some of your ideal candidates for this are obviously people who have owned for a long time, people that have a low tax base. And did you know that if you order a farm package through a title company, you can sort by assessed value? So you can essentially go into your farm, get a farm from me, and sort the Excel file, and we can tell you which ones have an assessed value under 500,000. Imagine writing them a handwritten note. Oversized homes, people who are afraid of taxes because they're in a position where they're on fixed income, and people that are afraid of losing Proposition 13. So the most common things that people will say is, I can't move because my property taxes are going to triple. I can't afford to downsize. And I want to, but I don't know how. So those are some of your basic common fears that you will see people having. And I think as great as Proposition 13 is in the state of California, that's actually what's caused this really big bottleneck of lack of inventory and seniors unwilling to move. So as great as it is, it's created for us in an industry where people are not incentivized or they're afraid to sell. So what is Proposition 19? I'm not going to confuse you by talking about the old proposition, but I will guarantee you that this is much better. It is available to homeowners at 55 and over. So married couples, just one person has to be 55. Severely disabled, and this has to be through medical notes and doctor's notes. Victims of natural disaster, the people in the Palisades, Altadena, in the Bay Area that have been affected by natural disaster. My favorite perk is that it can be used up to 3 times. This is an enhancement. For those of you that have done this for a while, you recall it was once in a lifetime. What that meant was people were not willing to use it and use it up because let's say they were 60 and they expect to live till 90. They may have to move again. But this allows you 3 times. So visualize this, guys. If you're able to use it 3 times, let's say you used it once and you have your old tax base, you can actually keep upgrading with that prior tax base, right? So that's something that you have to kind of consult and plant the seed and get a conversation going with your customers that, hey, right now, maybe you don't want to be an ABC type of home, but we can be here. And then a few years later, maybe we can move into a nicer home. So that's something that a lot of people are not aware of. Yes.
Is there a condition that the next home you buy has to be equal value?
We will cover that. Yes, that's a great question. It works anywhere in California. The prior proposition, you had to check a list. Participating counties. Remember the recession, guys? During the recession, half of the counties pulled out. They didn't want to play anymore. But now, this is essentially good for the entire state of California. The California State Board of Equalization is overseeing it. You submit to the counties, but the state is overseeing it all. And to Jamie's point, can you buy an expensive replacement property? So that was a big deal in the old proposition. The rules had it that you can only buy up maximum was 10% higher. So if you sold a property at $1 million, you were only allowed to buy up to 1.1. This new proposition actually allows you to buy up as much as you want, which is spectacular. So this example will kind of highlight this. And I'll give you guys this deck so that you have some of the examples, and I have realtor scripts on here too, so I'll get that to you. So when I say original tax base of 375, that people get kind of confused with how you're actually getting taxed. You have a tax base on your tax bill, and that's what you're getting taxed at. So this particular one, I actually used my mother-in-law's home. She's owned her home since 1972, and she bought it for $50,000. And over the years, it's gone up to $375,000. If she sold her home right now, it's $1 million, right? So she's paying $3,700 in property taxes on her $1 million home. But she wants to go and kind of upgrade, right? A newer home, smaller size, single level. So she's looking to buy something for 1.2. In the prior rules, you wouldn't be able to do this. But this allows you to basically, for your first $1 million of your new purchase price, $375,000 carries over. And then on the back end, $200,000 gets added. So her new tax base would be $575 instead of 1.2. It's huge, guys. I mean, with something like this calculation, it's more than double, right? Yes,
If it's okay, interrupt.
please, interactive. I love it.
Thank you. When people go to these firms,
Yes.
we usually say, okay, just get in touch with the county. How do they go about going through the process? How close to this room? And do they get like or is there an estimated time, right?
Another great question. You choose the best title partner. I'll handle the whole thing. It's not a function of what we do. The way that the application process works, purchase and sale have to be completed. So you can't apply until both of those deeds are recorded. The county will calculate based on the second recording, because Proposition 19 allows you to buy first or sell first. There's a couple of little nuances regardless of, or depending on how you do the order, but it's really insignificant. So once you're done with both legs, we're able to complete an application for you. I complete the whole application. We give them instructions to the homeowner. We apply to the incoming county. So let's say you sold in Orange County and you bought in La Jolla. You would apply to San Diego because that's who has to honor the discount. You do it with a copy of a driver's license, and we give all those instructions. You know, we give them the copies of the deed, the copy of the property tax bill, then the homeowner prints it up, does a wet signature, we tell them exactly where to mail it to, and they mail it. Time frame, anywhere from 3 to 9 months. It depends, but once it's in effect, you will get a refund check, and the effective date is that second recording. So even if it's 9 months, you'll get a refund check. The reason why it takes some time, not because it's government entity, but really because of just the way that the tax calendar is and how they calculate everything. But I haven't seen one yet get denied. I've probably, since this come into effect, I've probably done about 200-300 of them. I have a few clients, almost 30% of her listings in the past 2 years have been from some sort of Proposition 19 campaign. So both from her SOI, her database, and from her geographical farming. So again, as we were talking about the farming, right? Like if you're geographically farming, imagine putting something like this out. It's very easy. You don't have to say, oh, this is in our community at 123 Apple Street. What I would do is I would look at that farm package and I would take segments, right? Pick out a couple of examples of original owners, pick out a couple of examples of people that bought 5 years after build, 10 years after build, and say, hey, this is what's taking place in our community right now. Did you know that many of you can do this? If you bought in 1980, you would have paid roughly $200,000 for your home, and your tax base is roughly $450,000. So you would just basically illustrate it out. People have a hard time visualizing and imagining how it could apply to them when you just drop rules and how it can be done versus illustrating it for them.
Mary,
Yes.
all of the tax base does not include special assessments.
That's correct. That's correct. That's a great point. It is for base taxes. For those of the clients that are in Mellaroo special assessments, those do not apply.
And it transfers to the new tax rate. So if you move to an area that's got a higher tax rate.
Correct. The percentage, yes. And that's why we use that 375 as the tax base. That's what's transferring over, not your percentage, right? So if you're in an area where your tax rate is 1.07 and you go somewhere where it's 1.2, it's not that transfers over. Yes. Yes, that is correct. So part of the rule, there are a couple things that are non-negotiable, right? The non-negotiable is the age, and both have to be completed by 2 years. You have to apply by 3 years. Those are hard dates, almost like a 1031 exchange. They will not forgive. So buy and sell within 2 years. And then you forget about it, you slacked off, you have an extra year to apply. So when you apply it, let's say, before the end of the 3-year period, as I said earlier, they will retroactively calculate and send you a refund.
But Mary, you had to be 55. Even if a year or two goes by, you go back and say 55 now, or you have to happen before they transfer.
I love all the open conversations. I just had to do some research because I'm dealing with a homeowner. So she bought prior to 55, but we're spacing it out to close after 55. So if you sell your property after 55, you will qualify. Yes. Correct. So she bought at 54. She's going to turn 55 at the end of the summer. So they're going to match that date. So we had a conversation with the county. After 55. That's right. One of the homeowners. Yes. So when it's a trust or a married couple, the way the application is done, we don't include both people. We just need one person. So even if the home is in 2 people's names, if the husband is the one that's 55 and over, that's who we will use. And while we're on the subject of having people, whose name is going on the application, something that I'm getting quite frequently, people are actually starting to inquire about, well, I'm going to sell this, but I want to buy something nicer. So I'm going to get some financing and I'm not working. So I'm going to add my son to title on the new purchase. You're not going to be able to get the same benefits. If you add someone that is under 55, that is non-spouse, your ownership will be diluted. So you'll be able to carry over half of your rights, but you won't be able to carry over both.
Another question is, for your example, she is buying a home on Steve. What she sells 1 million and bought a home 850? How the transfer?
So if you buy less than what you sold, you'll still only be able to take 375.
So the whole value, end value will be 375.
Correct. So you're just not maximizing how much they're going to discount, but they don't have any problem with you buying down. That's totally fine.
Or the life estate sell and get the tax benefit.
The life estate sell and get the tax benefit. You mean under Prop 19?
Husband and I, when we purchased our current house, he used, because he was over 55.
Yep, Prop 60. Yep.
Okay, well, that was dead. So now I'm a successor trustee in
Yep.
the life estate.
Yep.
If I sell the house to buy my luxury single level, as a successor trustee, can I now take that tax base that I have on the house?
Yes. Because you are 55 and over. So are you going to be buying it and your successor trustee vesting?
Yes.
Yep.
So the state will buy the next house and it will be, you know, the single level luxury.
Correct. So to answer Linda's question, yes, she can. Let's take that to another level. Her example, because you guys will encounter this. Let's say that my mother-in-law takes advantage of this and she buys a new home at 1.2, has a tax base of 375 in her new home. Then let's say she passes away and my family inherits it and we move into it and we're not 55. Proposition 19 will allow my family and I to keep her tax base. So for those that are looking to create a little bit more in their legacy planning for their family, it can be utilized in that way. It does have to remain as a primary residence, right? So all of this, guys, is a primary residence. I get a lot of people who get really mixed up with investment property rules, and this is for a primary residence. So you can pass it on.
Excuse me.
If it's a family home, you can pass it on.
I thought,
Does
but when one of the owner passed away, the property stepped back. So the tax changes, right?
No. You're talking capital gains. Capital gains does get stepped up. If a spouse passes away, your tax base does not go up.
When does it qualify to be a primary residence if it was previously an investment home? Do they have to be living in the property?
yeah.
2 years.
2 years. Yes, 2 years. I think we have a question online.
I do. This is Gina. So you said that it can be inherited by a family member. Does it have to be a son or a daughter? Can it be a granddaughter? Is it the next in line?
It can be children and grandchildren, and it can go up or down. So it can also be a child giving their assessed value to their parents.
Okay.
So it's not just upwards, it can be downwards too, but it's children and grandchildren.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mary, I'm gonna take your scenario a little further, is that the original owners have died and one of their children has died.
Mhm.
That now tax base.
Mhm.
Okay, now the children, after 2 years, they now can sell and keep that tax base and buy the next house.
If the child,
Over 55.
if they are 55, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Can you guys visualize how advantageous this could be? Right? And this is the types of conversations. It may not be a transaction next week or next month, but it's a conversation that will yield you referrals. Most of the people that you're dealing with, I don't care if they're 45 or 65, they have children and family members that are younger and older than them. So if you plan things properly, you essentially become a real estate consultant for life. You have transactions that are going to just keep coming, right? So the fact that you can do it 3 times, I think that's huge.
And I want my agents to consider the fact that you don't only want to work with the people that are 55 plus, like you just said.
That's right.
When I'm 50, I'm looking at all this now thinking, how do I plan, right?
Yes.
So there's going to be people that are maybe not meet the threshold like you're saying now, but further down the track they may. And so you become the consultant, you become the point of contact.
Yeah.
You become the professional.
That's right. Right. Mike brings up, I mean, it's really, I couldn't say it any better. So going back to my client that has a ton of business from Proposition 19. So one of the mail campaigns that she was doing was for successful sales where they utilize Proposition 19. She would literally put that into a letter format and didn't do an address, but people got it because they saw the signage, right? And she put where their replacement was, what the taxes look like. And then she also put how long she had been talking to them, right? So this was a planning situation where I worked with these sellers for the past 2.5 years so that they can successfully utilize Proposition 18. And these are meaningful conversations, whether you're looking at social media, you're looking to do mail campaigns. Exactly like Mike said, attention, 40-year-olds, attention, under 55-year-olds. Are you planning ahead? And then what that does is that gives them something to really think about with their own parents too. Because guys, that's the other thing. Our current status, if you're not already, you're going to be dealing with a lot of children of parents. You've got a lot of sellers that are in their 70s and their 80s. I just worked with a client. My agent got a call from, he's not even a successor trustee, he's helping the successor trustee, but both parents are in a nursing home of sound mind, but they needed some consulting and they had received some information on vesting and Proposition 19. So she ended up getting the listing for two people that are in a nursing home here in Irvine with a home that's sitting vacant because they need to sell to make some money to pay for the nursing home. So those types of things, they're all conversations with children. It's not actual sellers, right? I mean, they are the sellers, but the conversations begin with the ones that are helping them.
Right.
Yes.
After the kids moved in, they had a lot of stuff where, oh, the forced me to move in, blah, blah, blah. The kids inherited, they transferred the tax base, and they lived there for 2 years as their principal residence. If the address changes at the county recorder's office to not owner occupied for them, have you heard of the county going?
We have not.
I haven't heard it, but
We have not.
I've had that question.
Yes. Now, what I have seen, Lucy, and this is a really important little piece, people will call saying, well, I thought it doesn't happen. Because I never, hey, at the end of the day, it's up to the assessors. But thus now, I have not heard that. What I have heard, though, when they make that move, they actually also met a vesting change. We were kind of talking about this. What I mean by a vesting change, anytime you change how title is held and it's not the same proportional interest, the county reserves the right to raise your property taxes. So let's say those kids moved into their parents' house, kept the tax base, and then bought a new property. But the son has a girlfriend. The beneficiary is now buying a house with his girlfriend. So he makes the vesting change to add her because she's helping with financing for the new property. Well, guess what? Property taxes are going to go up 50%. So the times that I have seen it from auditing the files, it's not because after 2 years, if they decide to make an investment, it wasn't because of that. It was because there was something actually underneath it.
Well, and I've had the personal experience of one of my clients who has everything in a trust, claims that when the property is sold, that
I want 1,000 copies for
none
the
of this
contents.
applies, it does.
That does apply.
Only a piece of paper that the kids don't move into the property.
Yep.
But if they choose to sell it, they'll go backwards and it will be reassessed on all of the taxes owed at that time.
Correct.
Financing and something like that.
Yes. And if it does get reassessed, the county will oftentimes reach out to the people and ask for a copy of the trust. And if they decipher that it was a true beneficiary and it is a owner occupied for both parties, they shouldn't.
Can I ask
Yes.
a question?
Go ahead, Marcelo. We'll be right with you.
When you mentioned about when somebody dies, the actual both owners died and the kids or one of the kids moved into the house and owner occupied. Isn't that technically a change in vesting as they take title of the property itself?
It is, but when you're filling out the preliminary change of ownership form, you're marking that you got it as an inheritance. So they would not reassess, and you're marking that it's a primary residence. That's a great question. Yes.
So if the son of the person who owns the home and the grandchild is both alive,
Okay.
can the grandparent transfer it to the grandchild instead of the child, or does it have to go to the child? Does
Oh,
one
no,
of
they can skip. They can
Okay.
skip.
neither
Yes.
doesn't have to be deceased? Okay.
So you're saying while grandmother is alive, she's going to deed the property to the grandson?
Right. It can skip? Does the child of the person selling or transferring it, do they have to be deceased?
Nope, you can
Okay.
transfer it. So you're talking about while they're alive, gifting their grandchild a property, right?
Yes.
I wouldn't do it, but and the reason why I wouldn't do it, I would much rather have my grandson receive that asset after I die for step up tax-based reasons. That's going to be a lot more than your property taxes under Proposition 19.
Right.
So
Okay.
if they're willing to wait, my rule of thumb is wait till you're dead. Yeah. And that way your child's not mad at you either.
Mhm. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Huh? Click on it. I really don't even need this. Okay, here we go. Okay, so this is all kind of the stuff that we've been talking about, but here's a thought for you guys. If you're holding an open house in an older community, create a couple of scenarios. If you're meeting homeowners, if you're doing some door knocking to advertise your open house, create a couple of generic scenarios that has all of your information. And if you're speaking with someone, say, this is one of the things that I work on quite a bit with my clients. I'd like to share this with you. If you happen to be over 55 years old, if you happen to want something smaller, want something that's single level, ready to, just kind of fold this life and go to your next chapter, this is what we're doing. So what I would look at is purchase dates prior to 2005. A generic title company farm will not have seller's age, but non-compliant, but we have a way to be able to pull it. Not coming from me, not me, but I know people that know people that has ages. High equity homeowners, two-story homes, guys. Imagine all the two-story homes. It's like an accident waiting to happen, right? But half of those people, they don't know what to do. So we have to give them ideas.
You mean I?
Yes. I know a great agent, Jamie. So as I said earlier, they're on Zillow, they're on Redfin, they're looking at your competitors' wasted brochures that give market updates. I mean, I'm sorry if I'm offending anyone with market updates, but honestly, guys, that's kind of dated. They don't need market updates. They need bits and pieces of conversations. And you need to invite them to ask you questions. And then you come to the table. And again, it may not be a transaction next week or next month, but it's going to allow them to help themselves and help their families. I have some scripts for you guys. A lot of these scripts are really great for, so I have it a little different depending on who you're talking to. But if I were you, even if you have a geographical farm, I would actually start rolling out calls to my sphere of influence. You guys can actually send me a list of your sphere of influence, their addresses, and I will spit back for you what their assessed value is. So you'll be able to sit down, make 2 or 3 phone calls a week, and have in front of you, like, Mrs. Lee, it looks like, wow, you're really getting great advantage of Proposition 13. If your home were to sell at 1.2, did you know that your property taxes have only been assessed at 350? Sometimes clients don't even know what you're talking about. They just know that their taxes are low and they're not going to give it up. So I can give you a stack of what we call tax rolls that will tell us what their base is to the county. So again, I will send all these to you guys, modify the scripts as you need them. They're great conversations for listing consultations as well. These are some of the types of conversations that will essentially set you apart if you're up against multiple listing agents on a listing call. So if you're going in there with your CMA and your comps and the RPA and talking about commissions, you, Tom, Dick, and Harry have all said the same thing. What's setting you apart? Something like this will set you apart. And I will tell you, clients, as I mentioned at the beginning, they know bits and pieces and they think they know it all sometimes. So it's our job to give them clarity. Other than the county assessors and you and I, there's no professional entity. People say, oh, well, let me talk to my CPA. CPAs have nothing to do with this, guys. Nothing. Most CPAs doesn't even know how this works. They know about capital gains. They know about, step-up tax base, but this is property taxes. So you need to become an expert on it. You need to preach it. Realtors who understand Prop 19, you guys become the advisors. You become that specialist that helps them transition from one to the next. You become that legacy planning expert. So when you help people, they also go back to thinking, how does this apply? If you are having a meaningful conversation, do you have parents or aunts or uncles who could benefit from this? If you ever feel like you'd like me to do an analysis for them, I'm happy to do it. You're not selling them anything. You're not asking for a listing call. Any other questions, guys? Sure.
Said on numerous times, we've got this beautiful location, we've got another area down here with the kitchen and all of this. What about doing something for those of you that have a lot in your communities to do a marketing event and utilize your slides Mary had here, and I bet you could talk her into helping you with it.
Proposition 19 seminars are one of the most popular. I speak at about 5 to 6 a year. I use the verbiage legacy planning quite a bit. You can actually create an entire series and do something 2-3 times a year. And you're pulling new prospects depending on the topic, but some of these prospects attend all of them, right? So you're talking about at one, Prop 19, at another one, step up tax base, at another one, trusts and estates. So you do it as kind of a just series of helping people plan. So Prop 19 is a big one in parts of Irvine. I'll just throw some areas out. All of you who work in Irvine know these spaces. West Park is amazing for it. The Ranch, any of the places that are what we in Irvine consider to be older, right? But also places like, I think, very, very hot market for Proposition 19, Lake Forest, Laguna Niguel, Mission Viejo. Why? Generally speaking, this is not a stereotype, but generally speaking, some of those South Orange County cities, you're talking about people that most of their financial wealth is in their home. They don't have $2 million stock portfolios and stock options like your homeowners in Turtle Rock or Northwood. A lot of these folks that are in South County that are living in $1.8, $2 million homes bought these homes with their teacher salary 30 years ago, with their postman salary 40 years ago. They can't imagine having to pay $20,000 in property taxes to go to a condo half the size just because it's newer. So they're stuck there. And those are the folks, they're not hearing about stuff like this because they're not at cocktail parties with people that are talking about the stuff. I mean, that's not a generalization. That is actually real live examples, guys. So if you're looking to do some marketing outside of your own space, some of those cities are ones to consider. Before I wrap up, because in fairness, I wouldn't be doing justice if I did not talk about some of the downfalls, because I don't want you guys to come back and say, well, she didn't give us all the information. So a couple of downfalls. Prior to Prop 19, it actually used to be parent to child could transfer even investment properties. Now they can't. So remember I said it has to be primary and primary, right? So way back when, and it was basically a give and take when this passed with the legislators. The other side needed to get something. So what they took away is your folks that have 3, 4, 5 different multi-unit properties on Balboa Island and, you know, in different coastal cities that are sitting on $5 million duplexes with assessed value of $500,000. It's an investment property. If you give it to your child, that's going to get reassessed. It used to not get reassessed. In inheritance, it used to not get reassessed, yeah, as an investment. So now, if you move in, you know, if dad has a triplex in Hermosa Beach and I move in, they will let me keep a third of it, but 2/3 of it get reassessed. So that's one of the downfalls. And then the reason why I'm telling you guys that, you're going to definitely come sit at the coffee table with one or two smart ass, and he's going to tell you, oh, well, I hate it because of ABC. It is true. That ABC is true. So there are some people that are very upset over that because they were hoping to transfer all of their investment properties and all of their low tax base to Johnny and Steve and Chloe, and now they can't. Unless they move into it. Any other questions?
Yeah, this is specifically for Ryan moves out to Florida or many other places where they're getting out from California nowadays.
That is correct. That is correct. Proposition 19 is afforded to California. It's just kind of fluff the next few slides. So as I wrap this up, I hope to have one more series continuing on with this. I've been speaking with Linda extensively on this. This is all great, but I know that it is not the answer to everything. You're still going to be dealing with homeowners that are looking at capital gains tax bills of 2, 3, 4, 500,000, right? Because this is property taxes, guys. People are still really, really gun shy to cut a big fat check. So the next series is going to discuss how to utilize Proposition 19, a 1031 exchange, all together. With proper planning, it can be done. And that's where really the legacy planning comes in. I've successfully completed 2 different ones. The clients have to be willing to do some work around it. It's not an easy one. But essentially, you finish everything in 2 years, you move out of your house, you buy a replacement, you take your tax base into your new house, and you take a boatload of the money and do a 1031 exchange. So you've downsized and you acquire an investment property. Works really, really well for some of these families, as I said, where that home is their singular asset. And it's the ideal candidates are going to be people between 55 and 65. I know that for a fact because that's where the numbers work the best. So that will be the next kind of continuation of this, because the capital gains conversation is real for us. There's no hiding around it. And as I end, not only Proposition 19, but you all need to be on the phone with your clients, letting them know anything beyond 500,000 for a married couple is going to be subject to at least 20%, right? So there is something to be said for people that are moving frequent enough where it's just like 700,000 gain maybe. The tax bill on 200,000 is going to be a lot better than someone who has $1 million gain. Do you know how many people have $1 million gain in Orange County? It's a lot, guys. So imagine if they can acquire an investment property and a new replacement primary residence. It's just a matter of timing it and stitching it together and working with a good advisor. It can be done. Thank you all.